Welcome to another episode of Close.io's Women in Sales series. In today's episode, if you're wondering why my guest is equally as gorgeous and has the same last name as one of our previous guests, it's because they are sisters. My guest today is the sister of Jen Wolosoff, the Director of Brand Strategy at BuzzFeed, who is from episode 12 if you want to check it out. In today's episode, we're going to learn how my guest has used the law of attraction her entire life, ever since she was a little girl, knowing that she had a career destined to be in law. And she has always been embodying that in every sales conversation with every person that she meets, with everything that she loves and is passionate about. You're also going to hear about a dorky technique that she used early on in her career to open up sales conversations. And we really unpack what it's like to be a young person managing and leading people in a major operation at a national title insurance agency. I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Hi, everyone. This is Rebecca at Close.io, bringing you our interview series featuring women in sales, where we find out how they grow and thrive both personally and professionally. In this episode, I'm speaking with Nicole Wolosoff. Prior to joining Boston National, Nicole served as the Vice President, Director of Operations and Underwriting Counsel at Insignia Title Agency. Before that, she was the Vice President and Counsel at Langdon Title Agency. Nicole graduated from New York University School of Law, LLM in Taxation Program, and earned her JD from the New York Law School and her bachelor's from Towson University. So why did you decide to attend law school, and what drew you there?
Sure. So law school out of the womb, I knew I was supposed to be a lawyer. Most people, I guess, learn that later on in life. I was always curious. I was always challenging theories at a very young age, and unfortunately to the detriment of my parents. But I loved the ability to think of two points of view and get different results and to negotiate. I always wanted to do that. And growing up, my parents really tried to help fulfill that curiosity by watching TV shows like Judge Judy and The People's Court. And literally, that was our show. People were watching cartoons and doing whatever they wanted to do. And I was analyzing Judge Judy's argument and these people who were coming in and arguing over the rent that wasn't paid. And then we would have discussions on it. And I just knew that that is something I wanted to do. I was always surrounded by law. My entire family, I feel like all of them are lawyers in some capacity, primarily in tax. But I feel like a lot of lawyers, it's really a thought process that you're trained to have. So I was always just intrigued by it. So at the age, I don't know, but I do feel like it was way younger than most people started to appreciate Judge Judy and the like.
What were some of your hopes and aspirations at the time? Like, did you want to be a judge? Did you want to practice? Or did you want to just have that in your toolkit?
Yeah, so I think, you're young, you don't know, I was a big dreamer. I knew I needed to be a boss in some capacity. So when I was young, people had bat mitzvahs and people had different themes, Broadway, this, that, cool themes. Unfortunately, mine was not that cool, but now looking back, my themes was presidents. I always wanted to be the first woman president. Now looking at it, I don't necessarily want to go into politics, but I loved the concept of just, doing something really well. And I learned everything about presidents at a young age. In order to get your tickets at the bat mitzvah, you had to pull down in the voting booth to get your seat. So I've been fascinated by it.
Yeah, I remember having those aspirations. And I also looked up to Judge Judy so much. At one point, I also wanted to be like a spy. That's totally off topic, but I wanted to be like a badass, powerful woman growing up. And I remember Mulan was a huge inspiration for me out of all the Disney princesses as well. So I think that's amazing that you knew that from the beginning and you carried it through. And did that kind of, did you tell everybody about it? And did you tell your parents? Were you telling people about it all the time and saying, well, I'm going to do this when I grow up?
Yeah. Just like sales, I guess. I sell anything I love. So it does not matter if I'm selling bare minerals. If I'm wearing makeup on my face, I was selling being the president at a young age. Part of my birthday gifts were going to the White House or meeting Judge Judy or going to the People's Court. It just became part of my life. And the law of attraction, what you think about expands. I was always drawing that into my life, going to museums, trying to learn as much as I could because I loved it.
Jen, your sister, had also mentioned a bit of law of attraction when she was looking to make a career switch, and that ultimately landed her at BuzzFeed. So is that something that you guys have always vibed with growing up?
Yes, it's a family thing. I think it actually comes more from my mom. My mom is a boss woman. She was one of the first women to be a manager at Price Waterhouse at a young age. So we
Wow.
grew in the mentality of like, you want something, you go and you get it. Part of that is the law of attraction. And we all read that as a family. We talked about it. We watched the videos. And I think it's really true. I mean, you put out what you want and opportunities present themselves as long as you go for it.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy that you guys
Yeah.
like talked about that as children. I think that was probably really emboldening for like mom to be the woman that she was, but also to teach you guys that mindset of attracting and putting out what you want. That's so incredible. And you guys are so lucky to have had that growing up.
Yeah, well, I feel very fortunate.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom.
So when you were in law school, you decided to specialize in real estate. So was it your inkling to get into what you're doing today, which we're going to totally get into later on in this interview? So did you have that inkling at the time, or did you also know that was exactly what you wanted to do? Or
100% no. I never thought in my life I would fall into real estate, title insurance. Even people who graduate law school, maybe they said it in one sentence in your real estate class. It was not something focused on. You fall into title insurance. It
right.
becomes something you learn about and love. I went into law school thinking I was going to be an Elle Woods litigator. I was going to be unbelievable, and I loved every aspect of it. I worked at the Brooklyn DA for a little while, and I realized that as much as in theory that would be what I would love to do, it didn't embrace all the characteristics that I have. I wanted to do a little bit of law, a little bit of sales, a little bit of everything. I felt like I wanted to get out there, meet clients, be involved, and a law firm wouldn't necessarily best suit all those skills that I had. So I worked at a law firm for a little while. I learned a lot and it was great, but I don't know if I would have been fulfilled within that role. And I feel like law of attraction, all that, I would meet everyone and talk to many people to gauge like, what does your day-to-day look like? What do you do? Are you happy? And that's essentially how I started to fall within real estate. And while I was in law school, I took a lot of classes. I was a nerd. I did like a lot of my law classes. But I really connected with the professor of my first real estate law class, Professor Berman. Hi, Professor Berman. He was really great and motivating, and I would come to his office hours. I wanted him to get to know me because with that come opportunities, and he would give me great advice. And I met a lot of people through networking through him, essentially in the very beginning. And I found out we have a real estate program. The more I learned, the more I wanted to learn more. And he helped get me connected with my first internship in law school, which was with a real estate law firm. It was a medium-sized boutique law firm, which I learned so much from. But I also learned that's not what I wanted to do, which is sometimes just as valuable.
Right.
And I was at a point where I was like, my second year of law school, what am I going to do? I need to get a summer associate position somewhere. And it was like almost too late. Everyone had their job set up. So what is one to do? Network. So I went to my law school's lunch with a lawyer. And I was always, I went and I met the person who was speaking, who used to work at Weil Gotshal, very bright guy, and just opened up a title insurance agency with his good friend that he went to college with. And he wanted more of like a work-life balance. And he was just so bright, and it was a different mentality from the law firm that I said, I'm working for this guy. So I sat at the table, and at the end of our lunch, I walked over to him. I shook his hand. I said, hi, my name's Nicole. I don't know if you know this. I'm going to be working for you this summer. And the guy looked at me like I was absolutely insane. And he was like, we're just starting. We don't have enough money to pay anyone. So I said, it's okay. I'm going to work for free, and you're going to realize I'm worth paying. And I worked for free so I got the free job. And I literally did everything. I was a sponge, whether like organizing business cards, organizing documents, helping plan events for clients. And I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And within a couple of months, they hired me full-time my second year of law school for when I graduated. I was one of the only people. It was a really tough time coming out of law school to have a job.
Right.
And I had already secured a full-time position. I had met people that were great. and now I was ready to network. So it was a really very great opportunity. And I think that it all came, things happen as they should.
Right. And that is so clearly evident that you are constantly kind of imprinting onto the universe, onto your surroundings, like what your goals and wishes are. What do you think emboldened you to, or what kind of mentality did you have going into these conversations? You mentioned the word networking a lot, but I find a lot of people, for the same reasons that they shy away from sales, it's the same reason that they shy away from networking. It just sounds too daunting, and it's made up to be this big thing, but it's really just saying hi and asking for help. Like, what can you give us some advice, or just tell us what was going through your thoughts at the time?
Of course. So I think the one thing I realized really early on with networking is power. People are power. No matter what industry you're in. So the more people you know, somehow it will all come together in some way. So before I had a job, I knew I needed to start networking just by asking questions. Everyone was talking about bringing in business, even if it wasn't a sales position.
Right.
How are they bringing in business? I need to come up with a base. So I started going to networking events, very nervous, very with the same mindset that, hi, I'm Nicole. I don't have a job. You definitely don't want to talk to me, but I'm here. And I realized very quickly, no one wanted to talk to me. So I said, okay, game time. I need to come up with a different plan. I need an internship. I need something I'm selling, so I'm not a student anymore. So I got business cards made. The law firm I was working for did not give me business cards because I was an intern, probably getting someone coffee. I made business cards that you couldn't rip, and I would make jokes like, hey, my name's Nicole. Even if you want to get rid of me, you can't, because you couldn't rip my card. And it would be part of my like play to talk to me. And then I just wanted to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I would go to events, and I would only go by myself on purpose because I knew I needed to get better at feeling uncomfortable and not knowing anyone. And a lot of times you go to industry events, they have groups of people and they're all like, hey, Bobby, Billy, like Mike, whatever. And I was going by myself. So the first thing I would do at every event is I would get a cocktail. Number one. Number two is I'd look around the room and I'd find someone standing by themselves that didn't look completely not interested in speaking to people, just someone who felt awkward at the event. I can relate to you. So I would walk over to them, find a reason to speak to them. Love their shoes, love their jacket, does not matter. Hopefully you're wearing one of those items. I'm going to tell you I like it. And then I would shake their hand and be like, hey, I'm Nicole. And we would start talking. And what I would do, it was almost like choreographed, because I would do it at every event, is once I got them engaged in the conversation, we were in a tight room with lots of people. The second someone gave me eye contact, I would say something to them, whether it be about their outfit, their shoes, their drink, something to engage them, and then say, hey, have you met Susan? Susan, who now I've just met, and now I navigate the room by introducing, so now I don't look like an outsider anymore. It just became a dance, and I got better and better at it until I started having my own kind of following, where I would go to events and I would send out messages, hey, I'm going to this event tonight. Anyone who wants to come, feel free. So each time I would go to an event, now I had my own crew. And I would find people in to build business. Hey, a lot of people don't like networking. Let me make it easier for you. Come out with me. If you want to talk to someone, I will introduce myself. I will embarrass myself. I will make those introductions and make this a little bit less daunting.
Right. And that is so powerful that you were able to do that. And like the part about like not being able to like tear apart your business, like that is definitely a dorky moment, but I love that you're comfortable with like looking like a dork, like embarrassing yourself, or, those little things, and like doing something that is a little bit choreographed, thinking about it ahead of time, because that's what we at Close.io talk about, is that salespeople need to be like shameless in a way, and be able to kind of follow a script. That's why when you first get into sales, you start with like an opener, like you need to understand. And I love the word that you use, navigate, which is, you have a plan going in, but you also have to be adaptable and introduce people to one another. That is such a powerful way to add value, especially, in so early on in your career. The fact that you were able to recognize and act on that immediately is commendable and so impressive.
Thank you.
So in October in 2017, you were promoted from outside of Boston National Title Agency to be the president of their New York operation. So how did that opportunity come about? How did you land that gig?
So, uh, so I was working at a title company previously, and they got acquired in part by Boston National Title. So I had known Boston National for a good 2 years prior to moving on to my role
Right.
as president of their New York operation. But much like I am with networking, I am in my job. I want to learn everything. I'm a team player. So
Right.
when I started working, I would find areas. I would do my job. I was hired as underwriting counsel. I happened to start bringing in sales because I sell what I love, and I loved my job, and I loved, meeting people. So it became part of my job. And then on top of that, I would just start looking around the office and be like, that doesn't make sense. Oh, the client's not happy there. And I would sit with different departments, and I would try to better the company as a whole, just because I was interested and I loved learning. And by doing that, I got promoted to be in charge of their operation. Uh, when Boston National acquired them, they did an audit, and that's essentially how I navigated through this previous company. Now, moving forward, Boston National was about to be acquired by a behemoth company. We were bought by a Blackstone portfolio company in Center. And with that was going to come major opportunities. And we decided to create our wholly owned title company. And they called me and they said the president, John Karatzis, who is the best person I've ever worked for. And I literally have such loyalty and respect for him because he's a man of his word, and he has the entrepreneurial spirit and
Right.
respects those who have it. And he said, listen, Nicole, you're great at your job. I think you would be excellent for this. I know you've never done something like this, but I have full faith that you can do it. And that's one of the reasons why I love the company I am in. They empower you to kind of rise to the occasion. I never looked for office space before. I mean, I went looking at office space, furniture, do I need a shredder? Is that legally compliant? Hiring the staff. I mean, it went from A to Z. And obviously I had Boston National support and our parent companies, all of the resources, but it was a tremendous opportunity. And now we've been in business in the New York market for about a year as a wholly owned company, and it's been wildly successful. So we're really excited.
Yeah, and this is a theme in some of the previous episodes with some of our guests, definitely with Jen as well, mentioning that you become elevated into a larger and more challenging role by doing what you need to do in your present role and a little bit more, and showing just a little bit extra initiative and curiosity to do whatever you can. And that's what gets people to notice you and to keep their eye on you. And when the opportunity presents itself, a lot of the women on this series have mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think one of the things I noticed the most about that is people in different companies I've worked for would always say, like, I deserve this role or I deserve this, as opposed to like, I'm working to the best of my ability. I'm proud of the job I'm doing, and I'm going to be recognized at some point because I believe in the company that I'm at. And I always would, anytime I've ever thought like I deserve this, I said, whoa, you have to take a step back and like reframe. Do what you're good at. Focus on your job. Do whatever. If you want to do extra, and good things will happen. And I think by having that mentality and just being like grateful and loving what I do, it's been able to ripple into positive things.
What does your current role entail? What are some of your responsibilities? What does the day in the life of a president of the New York operation look like?
It literally runs the gamut. I mean, I'm overseeing the operation from a production standpoint. I'm dealing with building sales, overseeing our sales team, looking at our P&L and making sure we're making enough money versus what we're spending, making sure we're compliant with our regulations. It really runs the gamut, but I think that's what's so exciting about the job is you get a little taste of everything.
What would you say your management style is like? What have you learned about management and leadership, having the title that you have, but also being as young as you are, which maybe not in everybody's experience, but I recently had a conversation where with another female friend who felt like her age was almost something that she had to justify or overcome in being in an elevated role. So I don't want to typecast and generalize, but there are definitely conversations that I've had in my experiences that I'm just seeking some advice on.
So definitely, and it's 100% accurate. I walk into any meeting and at first I feel typecast in a sense of you're young. You probably don't know what you're talking about. How are you in this role? And I think I take it as a challenge. I used to come in a little bit insecure about that, but then I said, no, I got here because I'm talented and I really work hard and I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to prove it. So I took it as a challenge. In every meeting, I was going to show you why I got this role and why I'm going to benefit you and why you're then going to sing my praises to somebody else. So it became a challenge, but it became also something that has helped me grow. Like, how can I help this client become better so they want to utilize us, and then they look at me a completely different way. I mean, most of my clients are older than me. Most of the people I work with are older than me. It's just been my mentality. And I think I came from a business family. So my dad has been a tremendous resource. He was a managing global partner of Deloitte, and he's just helped me deal with how to deal with people and understanding how to manage. And I've always managed the way that I want to be treated. So I always believe in treating everyone equal. We're all equal unless there's a reason why you did something wrong where we need to elevate it. Otherwise, we are a team and we are getting this done as a team activity. And the success of Boston National New York really goes to the team that's working on it. And I love that. I love going to work and like we're all working together and we get a deal. We're excited. We have bells in our office every single time we get a deal. It's generally a dance. We hit the bell and then we'll like dance a little. No matter how big we get, we will continue to do that.
That is the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
Aww, I love that.
So bring the excitement in the office.
How do you think sales in your industry is different than sales in other industries, as say the industry Jen is in, which is creative advertising, technology? How do you think it's different, but how do you think it is similar?
Sure. So title insurance, I think if you can sell title insurance, you can sell anything. And the reason is we are set by statute. So everything is the exact same price. You cannot go to another company and charge a different price. We're also very heavily regulated. And right now, we fortunately just got out of some crazy regs where we couldn't even buy a cup of coffee. It was against our regulations for a client. Now we can. But we've gone through quite the hurdle in the last year, and it's a very interesting market. So how do you create value? How do you do sales? It's really understanding the people you're selling to. So what do they want? So I can't really buy you a million things. I need to give you value. You want clients, probably. So how can I introduce you? I call it the food chain. Truthfully, the title company is always the bottom of the food chain. No one wants to talk to us. We are the company that hi, I'm Nicole, I'm in title. They generally try to walk away or run. It's unclear. So I found early on, how do I become a little bit higher up on the food chain so people do want to talk to me? And I'm a connector where so I have a broker here. They want to meet a buyer. I have an attorney who wants to meet the broker and the buyer. I have a lender who wants to lend to that buyer and wants to meet that broker for future referrals. How do I connect you all? I'm going to meet everyone and find personalities that mix. And then I'm going to invite you out for drinks and we're going to see if there's deals we can do together. So it's always finding that what do you need? How can I give it to you in a way that's going to help benefit your business? And in turn, hopefully you'll want to do business with us.
And tactically speaking, how do you keep in touch with everybody in your network? Do you find like picking up the phone and calling them, or do you text them, or send them a note, send them an email? This is just something that we find is a topic of conversation in the software space, just when it comes to applications.
Definitely. So I think it depends on the client. Calling, going to events is definitely something you can do. I mean, I once wanted to win a deal so badly. It was a $40 million purchase on a commercial property in the city, and I was competing with a different title company. So this guy was kind of quirky and fun, and I sent him a singing telegram chicken to his law office. I found out, I knew the partners there, and I found out there was no clients in the office. And the chicken sang, anything I can do, anything they can do, we can do better.
Love it.
And moral of the story is that deal is mine. But we're always trying to find creative ways. So I think events are great in bulk to see clients, and then really just hearing what people like and trying to give them what, like a chicken, that's going to last a memory forever. I mean, it's in my Rolodex of memories now. So
It's a hard act to follow. And New York real estate is high stakes and high pressure. So what is it like for you to work in this environment? And what qualities do you think you possess? What qualities do you think the people around you possess that help you guys thrive in this environment?
I think just always having your ears open. It does not matter where I am, I'm selling. If I'm at Starbucks and it looks like that person's probably about to buy a house, I'm gonna talk to you about it. That girl. I feel like it's always on the top of my head. If I'm at a dinner party or having drinks, it's part of who I am. And I think that presents opportunities because most people turn off at the end of the day. I'm always on. So I don't know. There's always an opportunity for title insurance when you're buying or refinancing. So why not put it out there and see what comes back?
Yeah. And that is such a, like an old sales adage, but always be closing, always be on, always be listening. Yeah. That's amazing. What sort of advice do you give to people that are looking to follow in your footsteps or enter into sales? And what are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned from mentors and family members?
So I think the number one thing that I learned that I love is no is not no. No is the beginning to negotiations. And it's really finding out. So that method didn't work. Whatever I did that where I got a no, it just means I have to try a different technique. So maybe email wasn't my platform. Pick up the phone, go to an event, meet them in person. There's definitely different ways because we're all people. And I think at the end of the day, people connect to people. And if you can understand what that trigger point is to make that connection, you can likely get that no to a yes. For sales, if you're looking to get into sales, I would say be okay with being rejected. I think that was the biggest thing. I'm very excited and I get really excited about, oh my God, I got a deal. And, in title insurance, you get a deal, but until it closes, it's not a real deal. I mean,
Right.
It's one step closer to closing the deal. And I think in the beginning, it was culture shock because no one prepared me for the excitement of finally getting there and then failing in a sense.
Yes.
So I get comfortable. I know I'm going to go up to 20 people and probably 19 of them are going to ignore me, maybe do something rude, maybe hang out with me. I'm okay with it. But being prepared for that, I think is the number one thing. You won't get upset. It's a numbers game. So someone's going to need title and someone's going to remember me in some capacity and maybe use me. So as long as you think of it in that way, I think you're going to be off to a good start. And if you're interested in sales, you can always contact me because we are hiring for title salespeople.
Where else can people find you, connect with you on the interwebs? I'm sure that there's going to be people that want to learn more about you after this interview.
Sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm literally on every single day trying to recruit and just speak to great people in the industry. So Nicole Wolosoff on LinkedIn. We also have our website at bostonnationaltitle.com.
Thank you so much for being on the Close Eye Women in Sales series.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Hey, did you enjoy this episode? I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. If you have questions that you'd like our guests to answer, or if you know of a woman in sales that we should feature, email me, Rebecca@close.io. That's with 1 B and 2 C's. And if you enjoyed this episode, got value out of it, got inspired, share it with a friend. There's a link in the description where you can also find show notes, and you can follow this series by subscribing to Close.io's YouTube channel, iTunes, SoundCloud, and various other podcast apps that you might already use. See you guys on the next one.